Welcome! In this video we will continue the creation of our SVG charts application and add some form enhancements with the PowerBasic Windows Compiler. This is our chart application as we left it at the end of the last video. What we're going to do today is not make any functional change to the application, but we are going to change the look of the application. What we intend to do is to put a gradient fill into the background of the form. Let's have a look at the code. If we have a look in our event handler, this is where the form is prepared. We're going to put a new section in here to handle the drawing of the background of the form. But first, we have to add a new library. I created a new library with a draw gradient function within it. We'll come back to that code in a moment, but first let's add the library. Now with the include command in, that library will now be included at compile time. If we have a look at the event handler handles the creation of the form and everything that happens during the form's running. What we're going to add today is a new case statement. This will handle the drawing of the background on the form. The first thing we'll need to do is to pick up a handle. We need to define this new variable. And having defined it, we're going to make a call to this new function, which I will cover in a moment. Right, now let's have a look at the draw gradient function itself. Draw gradient, as we can see, takes two parameters, the HTC handle and a colour. What this function is actually doing is it has the task of redrawing the background. In this function we'll be calling some Windows API calls. The first one will be getClientRect. GetClientRect is a Windows API call. This takes two parameters. The first one is taking the handle we've passed and turning it into a Windows handle. And the second parameter is what we're going to be getting out of this call. What getClientRect actually does is work out the location on screen of the client area of the form. This excludes the title bar at the top, any scroll bars at the side, and the very bottom of the form. What we're doing then is we're basically slicing this up into 200 elements, 0 to 199. And this is where our for next loop comes in. The for next loop's calling another Windows API call to set a rectangle, preparing for a rectangle fill for these parameters. The on-band long variable will vary between 0 and 199. The F step will be the bottom value of the client divided by 200. Having defined the size of the rectangle, we then prepare a brush which we're going to use to fill that area. Currently I've set up 4 options for blue, green, red and a grey fill. What we're going to use today is the grey fill option. And the final command is to fill the rectangle with the brush we have defined. And then having done that, it then frees up the memory used by the brush using the delete object Windows API call. And it will cycle through this until it's got to the end of the steps, which is up to 199. Now, putting this simple piece of code in place will have a change to the application. Let's run it and see what it looks like. And there, quite simply, is our form with a gradient fill from a very light white to a dark grey. Now this obviously throws up some things in the form we're going to have to change. the text labels we're putting onto the screen have a standard grey background colour. Ideally, we'd like to make these transparent. This can be easily done. If we go back to where the form is actually created, we will see in here there are a number of colour statements. Control set colour, which sets the colour of the title to foreground colour blue, background colour being default. If we change these from -1 to -2, this will effectively mean that PowerBasic will not draw the background colour at all, effectively making the text transparent background. Now, we've got all of those. If we run the application now, our text is now transparent background, with the exception of the checkbox. We'll come back to that one in a moment. We can still go in quite happily and add more columns, and they'll work fine. So, how do we make the text box with a transparent background and with coloured text to match everything else on the screen? Well, to do that, what we need to do is understand a wee bit the way how forms are actually created using the Forms Designer. When the Forms tool actually runs, it creates a PBR file, which is included in your compile using the resource command. We can load these up by looking for source files which have an extension of RC. And if we go into our code folder, we can load up the RC file. Normally you won't have to go in here, but in this case we're going to make a small change to this file. At the very bottom of the file is a manifest. This manifest is using an XP theme XML file. If we just comment this line out, save the file, and click on compile. Now this will create a PBR file for the main application, which is compiled in when we hit the compile button in the main application itself. This is a file we've effectively just recompiled. If we run this now, we will see that the look of the application has changed slightly. The text boxes are more chiseled, but we still have to fix the gradient fill. If we go back to our form and find the piece of text where the gradient fill was, there's our checkbox. With that XML file taken out, we can now use the control set color command to change the checkbox. We pick the check gradient and we want it to be blue foreground color and -2 for the background color. And if we save and run that, there is our gradient fill checkbox, transparent background and blue color. So with a few small minor changes to your application, you can change the look of the form quite significantly. So that completes our look today at Forms. Thank you for watching.